Wine and Crime contains graphic and explicit content which may not be suitable for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Abso-frickin-tootly.
The toot is loot.
Whoa.
I don't know.
Lucy just did a mouth toot.
Ew.
I had fries for lunch today.
Yum.
Best part of running errands, I get to go to McDonald's.
Fair.
Yeah. I had leftover orzo salad, like a summer orzo.
You love,
situation.
Lucy loves a summer orzo
What
salad.
was in
I know.
your orzo salad?
Cucumber, feta,
Yum.
tomatoes.
Yum.
It's like the
some
Greek one I made.
pesto,
Oh my gosh.
basil that we grew in our garden.
Nice.
And by grew, I mean I bought a robust basil plant at Lowe's Garden Center, and then I've kept it alive for a month.
Wow. You have to repot that kind of frequently because
So they
It's
get
in a
root
big
rot.
ass pot.
good.
They grow fast. I discovered this year from reusing some soil that was in our boxes out front, but not doing edible plants this year. I just did flowers out there.
You do enough edibles as
I
is.
do enough edibles. But a fuck ton of cilantro has reemerged from last year.
Smells so good.
Oh my God, it's so tasty. So I've just been keeping it, putting it on everything. Anyway, who are we?
Oh yeah, this is a true crime podcast, but if you, like us, are in your mid-30s, this talk is way more interesting.
Cilantro is perennial. Who knew?
I'm Kenyan.
I'm Lucy.
I'm Amanda.
And my favorite herb is
Cilantro.
Ooh, basil
But also
or mint.
rosemary.
Oh,
But also basil.
rosemary.
Cilantro, basil, and rosemary.
definitely basil and cilantro. So I have
Rosemary.
my porch pots that I
Yep.
pot with the annuals, perennials.
Annuals. You change them every year.
Yeah,
They don't
once
come
a
back
year.
each year. Yeah.
With the flowers, and in some of them I put lemon lavender
Yeah.
like, as a bonus plant. It smells so fucking good.
It's really too bad that we're in a climate where lavender is not perennial. I learned that the hard way last year. I planted so much lavender and I was like, this is going to be great. It's going to be like my cat mint. It's going to keep coming back every year. And it's like, yeah, it does that in California.
Yeah.
Not
I think
here.
You gotta know your
I could
zones.
get away with lavender
You
here.
could get away with it,
Yeah.
I think, as perennial in the tux.
And I should plant it by my garden gate.
Do it. Oh my God.
My
That'd be so
garden
poetic.
Hashtag
God.
practical magic.
Yeah. So cute.
Okay, anyway, whatever. This is actually the most classic intro to
It's our gardening
time.
podcast. Get over it. At least I'm not talking about fucking botulism this time.
I learned so much though.
Me too.
Mhm.
Who knew?
And it's helped my migraine so much. My little botulism in my jaw.
It's helped my forehead wrinkles.
And I'm gonna make another appointment for next week. Okay,
As you should.
we have a very special gals pick this week, brought to you by us.
Mm-hmm.
And we have selected the topic of pillar of the community. Because isn't that what they always say about
Indeed
these
it
asshats?
is. Yup.
Mhm.
I'm very excited about my extremely famous case that everyone knows about except for me.
My case is very big news in a specific
Very
community.
small community.
Yeah.
I was scrolling to get to my notes and I saw something and I was like, oh God, I'm excited.
Yeah. I'll
Mine-
save my anecdote for why
I won't say a word.
I chose this case and also why I forced this topic on all of us because
I
of
love
my
it.
case.
I am doing a case today because what the fuck else would I talk about? And
So exciting.
mine is also super well known in a specific part of the world.
Great.
And I hope that neither of you have ever heard of it.
Probably not. I am the worst true crime person in true crime.
Yep.
It is a crime.
It's a close race.
Yep.
All right. What's our wine crime pairing, Amanda, for pillar of the community?
Well, because, we're talking about the community, pillars of the community, I wanted to keep it local. And I had received, this is actually funny, I'd gotten an email like a couple of weeks ago from a local meadery called Bumbling Fool's Mead. And I had messaged back with them being like, absolutely, I'd love to like try some of your product. We could feature it on an upcoming episode. Here's my address. I didn't realize that they were in Minneapolis. So I thought they were shipping it to me. And then I got home the other day and there was just Mead all over my porch.
Just unboxed.
No card. I was like, wow, this is the best day ever. And I did go back and
Mead Fairy visited.
The Mead Fairy did indeed visit. So I did confirm. I went back to the email. It is from this company. It's not like poison that someone just left at my house. I'm very excited about it. So I am going to crack open. They sent me a lot. I like that they sent me these little, like, they look like the Mickey's bomber bottles of
That's
Mead.
cute.
Yeah, this is the Featherweight number 9 with hibiscus and ginger.
Ooh, that's a
it
good
sounds
combo.
fucking delicious. And it's nice and hot out today, so it's like a perfect little summer sipper. And just for a little refresher on what mead is, because I had also a little bit forgotten, because I feel like mead is like the redheaded stepchild of alcohol. Like, no, not enough people really drink it. But it is one of the oldest fermented beverages in history. And it's essentially wine, but it's made from honey instead of grapes. Hence their bees on the Bumbling Fools label. Bumbling. So they say on their website, though it is frequently associated with Vikings, mead has been developed across the globe anywhere that bees were found. So anywhere where bees live naturally, they were making mead.
Did you know that honeybees were imported to North America by the Europeans?
That's wild and also not shocking.
Not shocking.
And I'm glad we have them. Our little pollinators. I took some really cute videos of the little pollinators in my neighborhood this morning. And by my neighborhood, I mean my garden, because I don't leave my house.
Yeah.
And fun fact, I know I have shown y'all this before, but if you have a wine key from our online store, it is also equipped with a bottle opener. So you just see this little shepherd's hook. You crook it underneath, and we're going to get a nice crack. Here we go. Watch me botch this. Ready? I fucked it up. I'm getting the hook. I'm hooking it.
I'm not good at that hook.
It's hard.
I have to open the thing and use the other one.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What other one? This one?
Yeah, that one.
You're right. Okay. Nope. Well,
It's a twist.
it's not a twist. Here we go. Ow! Oh, I got a lip.
bleed.
I got a lip. Ow! Eh. I'll eventually get this open if you want to move on with your life.
No, we'll just
Shattered
stay here.
glass.
I'm not going to shatter the glass. Why am I so bad at that? Oh my God.
I feel so much better about
This
myself.
is user error. I want to make that very clear. This is not a problem with the product.
Is it a twist-off meat topper?
It's definitely not a twist off. But wait, let me try just in case. It's a twist off.
I said that like 30 seconds ago.
I didn't hear you. I genuinely thought I was the first to say
You guys, that's 2 this week. So you know how last week I was complaining about my AC being broken?
Oh, yeah.
We had a repair guy come out just to discover that our cat sitter had been like looking for a light switch in the basement and had turned off the power switch that is specific to the AC. So we spent $140 to have a guy go like this. Anyway, cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Holy shit.
All right. Well, that was a great episode. And
Special thanks.
special thanks,
I am crushing it.
Lucy. What is our... Oh, no, not background or psych. You're doing a
that's
case,
good.
right?
Yeah.
All right. Just take it away.
I'm a little mad you're not going to just talk about pillars and their load-bearing capacity.
Well, okay, before I forget, I said honeybees were imported from Europe, but it might have been bumblebees. One of those
It's
was
fine.
imported
Some kind
from
of
Europe.
bee.
Well,
Next.
someone's yelling.
Don't add us.
Whatever. So I did Google, I was trying to Google stuff about this, and like the 5 the 4 pillars of law enforcement and the 6 pillars of the judicial system, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I am so bored just looking at these search results.
Absolutely.
And how much more could we talk about teratomas?
Right. I mean, a lot more.
But I will say a pillar of the community or a pillar of society is someone who plays an active and important role in their community, which makes their downfall all the more spectacular. And so now I'm moving on to a full case.
Great.
Because nothing else to say.
Nothing to say.
So this person is so heinous. You might have heard of him before, but... And the pillar of communityness, I think, is hilarious. So, obviously, we'll get to it. Marcel-André Henri Félix Petiot was born on January 17th, 1897. He was a Capricorn.
Wait, are
he
you
French?
covering the person that you texted about the other day?
No.
Oh, okay. I just almost had a meltdown.
Who did I text the other day?
Out of nowhere. Apropos of nothing, the other day, Lucy texted our friend Chat about Marcel Marceau.
Oh, yeah.
The mime.
So that's why I ignored that.
This is a little bit related, but no, that text was my Britannica fact of the day.
Got it. Okay, well, now you started this case and talking about how awful and notoriously awful this Marcel was. And I was like, wow, people contain multitudes.
No, Marcel the mime saved like dozens of children from the Gestapo during World War II.
Okay, so not
because
bad.
of his acting skills. He pretended to be a German soldier to like shepherd these children to safety.
And no one can recognize his voice.
Because he's a fucking mime. Holy shit. Holy shit.
Okay. All right. Just covering our bases.
Different guy.
Different Marcel. Okay.
When you said that, I was like, did I? My short-term memory has been like quarantine level lacking lately.
Yeah, same.
Losing it. Wow.
Okay. So this guy, a Capricorn, he was born in Auxerre, which looks like Auxerre, and I thought, pass me the ox. Pass me the oaks. The os. A-U-X.
Okay. Yeah. Totally get that reference. I definitely know what you're talking about.
Pass me the ox.
The ox cord.
The ox cord in the car.
Oh. Okay.
Pass me the os.
I was thinking of ox, like the animal.
No.
We need to all get our heads right. We need to
guys,
get our heads in the game.
We're doing really well today.
Have a big old swig of that mead.
I am working on it. It's quite delicious.
Okay, so in an area called Yonne in north central France, which is a mere 578 miles from Peniston. It's a 10-hour drive. It's so bizarre to like think of driving to Peniston.
That's like the drive to your cabin.
Yeah, it's way close.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. His parents were Félix and Marthe.
Mart.
Marthe.
I like Marthe.
It's
short
Marthe
for
now.
Martha. Marthe.
It's Mart.
It's Marthe. It's Marthe.
And he also had a brother named Maurice. He was reportedly unusually...
Maurice, the baguettes! Hurry up!
I need 6 eggs! That is where he was born.
I am the I need 6 eggs lady.
Every parent on the planet at one point becomes the I need 6 eggs woman from fucking Beauty and the Beast. Without fail.
She has children just clinging to her.
Yes.
Ick. Okay, so he was unusually intelligent as a child. However, according to later reports, which may or may not have been invented or exaggerated for like public consumption, he exhibited severe behavioral problems from a very early age. So, for example, at age 11, he fired his father's gun in his classroom and also propositioned a female classmate for sex.
Oh.
11.
Cool.
He was expelled from school several times, like several different schools, and was clinically diagnosed as, quote, mentally ill in 1914 at the age of 17 after being arrested for mail theft.
Not the worst time to be clinically diagnosed as mentally ill in France. If I had to pick a time to to do it?
Well, it didn't work out that well because he still went into the military.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I take it all back.
Because the military-industrial complex loves the mentally ill.
Well, yeah, they needed all the people they could get.
He actually volunteered for it, but we'll get there very soon. Finally finished his education at a special academy in 1915, so he still, got his high school diploma on time, but after a lot of obstacles. In 1917, some sources say he was drafted, other sources say he volunteered. Whatever, he went into the French army during World War I, but was almost immediately wounded and gassed during the Second Battle of the Aisne?
I think it's
Aisne.
N. I think it's N.
Too many letters for that to be pronounced N, but I'll take it.
I could be
I have
wrong.
no horse in this race. No dog in this fight.
Second battle of that battle. After which he exhibited symptoms of an actual mentee bee. He was sent to recover in a rest home, but was then arrested for stealing army blankets,
And
morphine.
arrest home.
Arrest.
Ended up being in a rest home for stealing army blankets, morphine, people's wallets, people's photographs, and letters from their loved
no.
ones.
Cool guy.
He's just a klepto, and it gets so much worse. Among other things, he was sent to jail in Orléans, found not guilty by reason of insanity, and then was sent to a psychiatric hospital where he was again diagnosed with just various mental illnesses.
Okay.
So again, the army loves the vulnerable. So
Everyone they can get.
he was again sent back to the front lines in June of 1918, where 3 weeks later he literally shot himself in the foot and was able to get out of the war on disability pension. Although at that point, several of his previous examiners had recommended that he be institutionalized. They were like, no, you guys, he's not fit to
Let's
be
not
living out in
let
public.
This guy
Right.
around all the weapons.
Or just society in general.
Right.
He needs treatment.
Yeah.
So he didn't get that. Petiot enrolled in an accelerated educational program intended for war veterans and completed medical school in 8 months.
Cool. Over fucking achiever. Got it.
No, it's just way accelerated because they just needed
He went to Trump Medical School online.
because all the regular young citizens, most of them were fighting, so they needed the ones who couldn't fight to be home, filling those vacancies for doctors, etc.
And women couldn't do it. We might as well get this guy.
Exactly. So they fast-tracked him to being a doctor. He then interned at a mental hospital in Kenyon's hometown of Normandy.
Hey, guys, this is so ironic because, I should be you.
This is crazy, right?
And now I'm treating you.
Weird, right?
Crazy.
Isn't it funny how stuff just
Someday
works
you
out?
two could be me.
I was you. I
Yeah.
was you just 6
Here,
months ago.
Put on this straitjacket. Let me shock
Let
you.
me cut you open.
Before I shot myself
Let me
in the
shock
foot.
ya.
Let me just apply these electrodes to your brain.
Cool.
Hey,
Loving it.
this is funny because
How? And you don't have a wallet that I could steal because we confiscated it off you.
hey, where's your purse?
Hey. Hey, you. Come over here. Let me shock you.
What's
Where's
your
your
locker
purse?
combo?
What's your locker combo?
Look at this pretty little thing in this photograph that I
Look
just
at this
took from under your
asshole.
pillow.
I'm
You
just joking.
recognize
I'll
her?
put it
No,
back.
of course you don't. I fried your brain.
Oh, you do recognize her.
It's like a Rorschach test. Is this your wife?
Whoops.
Oh my God. Sorry, that got really dark.
Whatever. It was hilarious.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Okay, so he received his medical degree in December 1921 and returned to the area of his hometown to join medical practice there. By this point, Petiot had begun using addictive narcotics. But
Oh.
that didn't keep him from, and in fact may have helped him in becoming a very popular local physician.
Oh, God.
He was very charming. Like I said, he's super smart and people loved him. At least at first, and most of the people continued to love him. We'll get to it. And this was again in spite of, or perhaps because of, his willingness to skirt some of the rules by doing such thing as supplying narcotics to patients. Just a little, hey, you want a little something extra?
Yeah, let me write you this script, and I'm just going to take 10 off the top.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know, most people would be like, hey, he's a cool guy. He also would perform illegal abortions. So, not so bad.
Let's hope he did them right after 8 months of study.
Yeah,
My God.
I'm having a really hard time, like, getting my hands around this guy.
He's all over the place.
Yeah.
He'll fit into more of a niche in a little while, but not before he goes way weird. Okay. So he was also committing fraud at this time by secretly applying for state medical assistance for many of his patients, like on behalf of his patients, while also receiving cash from them, like a regular patient.
Oh, okay.
So he would receive payment from both the patient and the state every time he treated them.
Like a little Medicare fraud or whatever.
Just a light,
Yeah.
Medicare fraud.
Yeah, well, yeah. He was also back on his bullshit with the petty thievery. He also, like, assaulted a police officer somewhere in here. Just stuff like that. In 1926, he began an affair with the daughter of one of his patients. Her name was Louise Delaveau. Beautiful. Not long after they began their relationship, Louise disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Some neighbors reported seeing him load a large trunk into the back of his car.
Uh-oh.
They reported this to the police, but the police eventually dismissed Louise as a runaway. And I found one source that mentioned that a similar looking trunk was pulled from the river several months later and contained, like, parts of an unidentified woman.
Oh.
But the police were like, oh, it's just a coincidence. It really wasn't him. She's a runaway. We don't know who this lady in the trunk is. Whatever.
The lady in the trunk.
Because they just liked him? Because he was the doctor?
Because they just didn't have any evidence and they probably had bigger fish to fry at the time. It was Willy Walleye days.
Yeah.
They had a lot to set up.
That will do it.
That same year, Petiot decided to run for mayor because he was so well liked in the town.
God bless. Are we sure this isn't just Petiot's delusion from
Seriously.
when he was admitted to a mental facility at
Anti-Mead.
14?
The whole thing is the occurrence at Owl Bridge.
Incredible.
During the campaign, he hired someone to disrupt his opponent's speech to, like, fluster him and make him fuck up his speech. And I assume there were plenty of other shenanigans going on. So he ended up winning the election and became the mayor of Villeneuve-sur-Yonne in 1926. In 1927, he married a woman named Georgette Lablay, the 23-year-old daughter of a wealthy landowner, and together they had a son named Gerhardt in April of 1928.
An interesting choice of name. Okay.
Gerhardt. Yes, quite German sounding.
Right.
Yeah. Seemingly, the first thing he did as mayor was to begin embezzling the town's taxpayer money. One source said he embezzled all of the town's money.
Oh, nice.
Did he have a lot of horses that he needed to buy,
Oh,
in
my
fairness?
God, I forgot about
He had a
her.
lot of quarter horses.
He had a quarter of a horse. He had enough quarters of a horse to get
He had a
one
lot of
full
horses
horse.
that he needed to keep quartered.
Yeah.
Yuck. There were also rumors that he was even stealing cans of oil from the railroad depot. So, like, again, he's a klepto,
Yeah.
but he's also embezzling these huge amounts of money and potentially murdering people.
Not great.
Okay.
His thievery and dubious financial dealings finally caught up with him, and in 1930, he was convicted of fraud and suspended for 4 months of his being mayor before...
That's it?
Yeah, before, like, resigning completely in 1931, again in the face of criminal accusations. But he was the mayor of this town for, like, 4 years.
Wow.
Cool. But again, he was still super well liked in this town. Everyone thought he was the fun, cool guy. And
Cool uncle.
So after he was kind of forced to resign, the entire village council also resigned in sympathy.
Oh my God.
I will never have that loyal a following.
No.
So then just 5 weeks later, on October 18th, 1931, he was elected as a village councilor. At the time, he was the youngest man to ever sit in that office. And then in early 1932, he was accused of stealing electricity from the village and lost his council seat. But by that time, he had already relocated to Paris.
So yeah, he's
Cool.
just a klepto. He just needs to be stealing.
Yeah.
Even if
He
it's
doesn't-
electricity.
Or like a handwritten letter that has nothing to do with him, or
Right.
money, or
Sure.
Army
canned
blankets.
goods, or oil. Yeah.
Yeah. By
You know.
1933, he had settled in Paris and was growing his very successful medical practice with phony credentials. He again had quickly developed a great reputation around town. However,
Sorry.
what?
Speaking of Paris and doctors,
Oh, God.
I forgot to tell you guys this. When we went to Paris on our recent vacation, for the listeners, the first full day we were there, we thought Sonia might have an ear infection, but really, I think her ears just hadn't like
We're still
popped.
popping from the
yeah,
flight.
after the
Yeah.
plane.
Give her
poor
bubble gum.
Bubba.
She's a baby, so no. But we called around and found
Just shoving bubble gum in her mouth.
She
That'll
went
do
for
it.
her like a mother bird.
she didn't have an ear infection, but she did
The
choke to death.
chewing is what elite. Okay, no, we're fine.
So, no, so we're calling around to different pediatricians' offices, whatever. We ended up not having to bring her because then, like, her ears popped and she was fine. But the pediatrician that I found and made the appointment with was Dr. Jabby.
Yes.
Ooh, that's a
Jabby
good
walkie.
name for a jabby.
J-A-B-Y.
He's gonna jab ya.
Ugh, that's
I
not
know.
great.
Yeah. Anyway, long.
Dr. Jabby will indeed jab ya.
Dr.
That's like
Jabby.
Dr. Worms, Scott's orthodontist.
I had him
Go.
too for a while. He was so old.
Yeah, he's dead now. My orthodontist is dead now, too. Anyway, moving
R.I.P.
on. Dr. Newhouse.
He is in a new house now.
He's in a
6
new
feet
fucking
under the
house.
ground.
It's a small house.
Little house just for himself.
Okay, so he had a great reputation in Paris. However, rumors persisted that he was again prescribing drugs to addicts and also, again, that he was performing illegal abortions. Plus, he could not keep his kleptomania under control. But that did not stop him from being appointed to Médecin d'État Civil in 1936, giving him the authority to write death certificates.
Cool.
So he's doing all this shit. People know about it, but he's still so well liked, like face to face and in the community that people are just like,
And he has no shame about lying, so he can
Right.
immediately like set up a practice because people are like, look at this guy's credentials.
yeah, that are completely fabricated.
Right.
That same year, he was institutionalized briefly for his kleptomania, but was released after a few months again, despite his doctor's doubts as to his sanity. It's the same fucking thing over and over.
Wow.
In the
Gotta let
following,
me out. I have lots of patients to treat.
They need me.
hey doctor, isn't that fun? I'm you, but like
Hey.
for narcotics.
Right?
Yeah. So wait, so how does this work? You just give me all the pills I give you on this list, or because that's how I do it with my patients.
Yeah.
You gonna give them to me, or do I have to steal them?
Oh my God.
Okay. In the following years, he repeatedly committed tax fraud and was once again charged and fined for his crimes. By the time Germany invaded France in 1939, he had a pretty hefty criminal record and a quite extensive list of psychiatric diagnoses.
You don't say.
So, start of World War II, here we go. As it turned out, Nazi-occupied France provided the perfect backdrop for Petiot to continue carrying out his more heinous predilections. He positioned himself as a member of the resistance, probably to garner public trust, but it's unclear how committed to the cause he really was. And by unclear, I mean he was not committed to the cause whatsoever.
No.
He's completely
Nope.
self-serving.
Yep.
He claimed later that he developed secret weapons that killed Germans without leaving forensic evidence. He planted booby traps all over Paris.
I'm sure.
He had
You just couldn't see them, but they were there, okay?
yeah, there was no evidence. That's why you don't know about it.
You wouldn't get it.
You wouldn't get it. You could never.
You could fucking never.
He had high-level meetings with Allied commanders, and he worked with a non-existent group of Spanish anti-fascists.
Nobody expects the Spanish anti-fascists.
So there is no evidence for any of these statements. After the 1940 German defeat of France, French citizens were drafted for forced labor in Germany. And Petiot actually did provide false medical disability certificates to the people who were drafted. I'm sure
Probably for a fee.
For a fee. He also treated the illnesses of workers who had returned. Keep that in mind. In July 1942, he was convicted of overprescribing narcotics, even though two of the addicts who were planning on testifying against him had mysteriously disappeared.
People
So that was
inconvenient
dropped.
to him don't last long.
They really don't, especially if they are addicted to the narcotics that he's prescribing.
Uh-huh.
They're getting too high off of his supply.
He soon took on the alias Dr. Eugène and began inviting Jews to his medical practice, people who were trying to escape the country.
Oh my God. Oh no.
What a fucking piece of shit.
His practice, I'm only mentioning this because it's like a famous site, is located at 66 Rue Caumartin. And he invited them there, promising them safe passage out of France. He claimed that his extensive network, which was called Fly Talks, worked in conjunction with Argentinian authorities to safely transport people to South America without the knowledge of the German invaders.
Which did, like, things like that did exist.
Sure.
He just wasn't actually connected
No.
to them.
Not at
No.
all. So he also offered his home as a safe house for resistance fighters, petty thieves, and hardened criminals trying to outrun the law. But it was primarily Jews trying to escape the country. What actually happened was totally horrific. So under the guise of inoculating them against various diseases as demanded by the Argentinian government, so you need these vaccines to travel to this country.
Yeah, line up and get your jabs.
Yeah.
Dr.
So
Jabby.
Petiot injected them with cyanide. He watched them die. He stole all their possessions and their money and then disposed of their bodies either in quicklime, or he buried them, or he dumped them in the Seine, or he burned them in a basement furnace in his specially designed soundproof home.
Good
Cool.
God.
So he started, I think originally he was dumping them in the river, but as the Gestapo was had more and more of a presence in like his neighborhood,
Yeah,
he
he
had
didn't
to
wanna-
figure out ways to dispose of the bodies on his own property.
So the quicklime and the burying.
And also
Ugh.
his residence was super close to the Arc de Triomphe. So it's like right in the middle of
Yeah.
Paris.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I also just want to flag for a second that, like, this is horrific.
Yep.
And if you think this is horrific, you should know that this shit is still happening today
Correct.
in just maybe slightly different forms. But, like, this is, like, these are some of the risks that, like, migrants today face
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
just trying to get to safety and to a
Yep.
better life.
I'm sure more instances of this kind of shit will continue to come out.
Not to, like, draw connections to the Holocaust, whatever. Like, obviously, there are differences. I'm not.
Well, right.
Yeah,
but
but
like,
if-
there are similarities.
There are similarities.
There are a lot of similarities.
He was
Absolutely.
using fear and like human migration out of necessity to
Yeah, and if-
do whatever the fuck he
Desperation.
wanted to do.
And if we don't draw those connections
exploitation.
where those similarities exist, then we're doomed to just continue to
Right.
repeat it.
Right.
Yep. So he also had 3 accomplices helping him out, and those were Raoul Fourier, Edmond Pintard, and René Gustave Nezonte.
You're nailing it.
Zellweger.
Thanks. René Gustave Zellweger. The The Gestapo heard about what was going on, and they infiltrated what they thought was the extensive spy ring, helping the Jews to escape. That's, of course, what
And then
they
they're
thought
like,
it was.
no, this guy's doing our job as a side hustle.
Yeah. So ironically, the Gestapo was like the good guys in this specific time instance.
Well, they just didn't want they wanted to control everything.
Right.
Correct. Their intention was to arrest a murderer, but they didn't know he was a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
So they arrested those 3 accomplices, and those accomplices, so they went to the medical practice. Somehow Petio was like not
There.
Yeah.
When
So
they did the raid.
They arrested the 3 accomplices. The 3 accomplices spent 8 months in prison. They were being tortured to give up names. So, of course, the name they gave up was Marcel Petio. And they were like, okay, wrote that down. Who else? There's an extensive ring of you people. And they were just like...
We're not a ring. We're just criminals.
So they were tortured for 8...
Back off.
They were tortured for 8 months, but they never gave up any more names because there weren't any more names. And then they were eventually released, but they had Petio's name.
Marceau!
Okay, this is from Wikipedia. On March 11th, 1944, Petio's neighbors complained to police about a foul stench in the area and large amounts of smoke billowing from a chimney of his house.
Ooh.
Fearing a chimney fire, the police summoned firemen. They called Marcel to be like, there's a fire in your home. We need to get in. And he's like, I'll be there in 30 minutes. And then he never showed up. So they essentially tipped him off that they were at his house and were about to discover all this shit.
Oh my God, that's so funny. So that is funny.
Yeah. It's possible that he set the fire, but I don't know why I don't think he did. I think it caught fire.
Okay.
And then he was like alerted to the fact that the authorities were there. So he got the fuck out of there.
Wait for me there.
Yeah.
Send all of your backup to my house. I'm coming.
I'll be there in a half hour. The firemen enter the home. They found a big fire burning in a coal stove in the basement. In the fire and scattered around the basement and also throughout the house, there were different containers of human remains. Mm-hmm. In addition to those found in the basement, human remains were also found in a pit, I think in the basement, filled partly with quicklime, also in the backyard and in a canvas bag. In his home, enough body parts were found to account for at least 10 victims, but they were all like just parts. They discovered large amounts of chloroform, digitalis, which is another poison, and various other...
a penis.
It really sounds like boner medication.
Yeah, it totally does. ED. And various other poisons in addition to large amounts of more usual medical remedies like doctor shit. Also scattered throughout his property were suitcases, clothing, and assorted property of his victims. And there's a photo on the drive of a stack of all the suitcases they found.
Ugh.
It's really disturbing. But Petio had gotten away, like I said. The media reaction was an intense circus, and the news reached Switzerland, Belgium, and Scandinavia. So, like, the entire area knew about him. They knew his name. They knew that he had murdered people, and they knew that he was on the run.
This pile of suitcases.
It reminds me of the pile of shoes at...
the Holocaust Museum.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not to be believed how many fucking suitcases there are in this that was just in this man's house.
Dozens.
And they're numbered. And I see 76 is one of the numbers.
Yeah, it's really...
Oh my God.
Yeah. So Petio hid with friends, claiming that the Gestapo wanted him because he had killed Germans. I'm in the resistance. I was only killing the bad guys.
Yeah, if you're on the run
you.
from the Gestapo, people are going to assume that you're actually a good guy.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So he eventually began living with one of his patients named Georges Redoute. He let his beard grow out and he adopted various aliases. The authorities were slow to chase him because there was a little thing called the Normandy invasion happening around this time. And again, they had way bigger fish to fry. Mm-hmm. During the liberation of Paris in 1944, Petio adopted the name Henri Valery, and joined the French Forces of the Interior, or the FFI, in the uprising.
Now that their win is guaranteed, he's going to join up with the good guys.
Yeah, the ones who are ahead.
Cool.
Yeah. So he became a captain in charge of counter-espionage and prisoner interrogations under this alias. So there was a newspaper called The Resistance. I think it was exclusive to Paris. They published an article about Petiot and his crimes, after which Petiot's previous defense attorney, so during one of his narcotics cases, during the narcotics cases where those two guys who were going to testify disappeared. So it was his defense attorney during that case received a letter from his fugitive client saying that this article got it all wrong. There's so many mistakes in this article.
I demand a rewrite.
So this led the authorities to believe that he was still in Paris because he was reading this newspaper. And so the search for Petiot began anew. The cops actually appointed Henri Valery as one of the officers in charge of finding Petiot.
No. Guys.
He's a good officer. He'll find him.
There's actually such a tie-in with my case.
Amazing. Finally, on October 31st, Petiot was recognized at a Paris metro station and he was arrested. Among his possessions when he was arrested were a pistol, 31,700 francs, and 50 different sets of identity documents.
Wow.
If you can't successfully go on the run with 50 aliases and passports, then...
And a pocket full of francs.
I mean, come on.
What are you even doing? You deserve to get caught.
I think it's weird that he was recognized and caught, even though he was living with his face everywhere as Henri Valery.
Yeah,
sure.
Well, sometimes you run into someone and they know your previous face.
That's true, yeah. So he was imprisoned in La Santé prison. During his trial, he claimed that he had only killed enemies of France. I was only killing the bad guys.
I swear,
And that he had discovered the pile of bodies at his home in February of 1944, but he had assumed that
I'm telling you, baby, they're not mine.
He had assumed that they were collaborators killed by members of his resistance network and just put there so that he would take care of it. However, the police found that Petiot had no friends in any of the major resistance groups, and some of the resistance groups he spoke of had never even existed, and there was no proof of any of his claimed exploits. Prosecutors eventually charged him with at least 27 murders for profit. Their estimation of his gains was as much as 200 million francs.
Oh my God. Should have stuck to writing bad scripts for narcotics, my guy.
Yeah. Petiot was tried on March 19th, 1946, accused of 135 criminal charges. His defense claimed that various victims were either double agents or that they were alive and well in South America, living under new names. It worked. They're in South America. Of course they're not here. Of course you can't find them.
I just kept their suitcase and all their money for
They asked me to just hold on to it because I'm like a trusted friend.
Yeah, I was going to mail it to them later. I just haven't gone to the post office yet. So he himself admitted to a total of 63 quote-unquote enemies killed and attempted again to paint himself as a resistance fighter, but the jury did not buy it, and he was convicted of 26 counts of murder. And on May 25th, 1946, Petiot was beheaded by guillotine. His last words allegedly were, quote, "Gentlemen, I ask you not to look. This will not be very pretty."
Oh, okay.
What a fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
So he was like a pillar of the community at various points while also being very obviously a danger to society.
Yup.
Could not keep his shit together.
Could not.
Crumbliest, rustiest pillar of the community.
He really was.
God.
Wow. Isn't that fucking weird? And I'd never heard of him.
I had heard like vaguely about some of this, but definitely not by name.
Whoa.
I mean, I don't think he
Weird.
was the only one who was murdering people who were trying to escape the Nazi regime.
Well, sure. Unfortunately,
like systematically.
there were plenty, but this guy really had a strategy.
Yep.
Fucking A.
So that's Marcel Petiot.
Well,
Cool,
that's
nicely done.
fucking depressing.
Yep. Thanks.
Remember when this was a twist off and I struggled to open it? It was really funny.
That was good. That was
Hold
good.
on to that
What's
memory.
your favorite herb?
Bring it back. Rosemary's still.
Okay, let's take a quick
Herb break.
mental break.
Herbal break.
It's summertime. You probably got vacations planned, and you're probably a little stressed out about said vacations. Or maybe you get stressed when you're on vacations, because that's me. That's me in a nutshell. Hello, I'm in a nutshell.
Help, I'm in a nutshell.
But CBD always helps me. So whether you need to de-stress or keep your sleep schedule on track this summer, I have a real problem sleeping on vacation. That's really weird, I know. But CBD can help. And don't just settle for any CBD product. A recent study showed that most CBD labels are way off, and some products only contain 60% of what they claim. That's bad.
I don't like that. That's a D.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a D. Melatonin products can also be very inaccurate. So Next Evo Naturals CBD delivers exactly what is on the label. Their products are tested before, during, and after they're made, so you know you're actually getting what you paid for.
I am obsessed with Next Evo products, and I actually just got off the phone with my soon-to-be mother-in-law, and we were talking about how are we going to make sure we get sleep the night before the wedding, and I was like, oh, girl, I got you. I got you. I went off for like 15 to 20 minutes about Next Evo, the sleep gummies, and how much I proselytize. I'm obsessed
You already
with
did the
them.
ad.
I pretty much did the ad on the phone directly to my mother-in-law because they really do help me. I have a really hard time falling asleep. I'll stay asleep once I'm out, but going out, no. And their sleep gummies just really help. They have a little bit of CBD, a little bit of melatonin, and they work together to just help me slip into sleep that then I do not toss and turn. I don't wake up. It's like amazing. And a recent lab study found that most of the top CBD brands contain as little as what Lucy said, 60% of what their labels actually claim. So you're wasting your money on those, okay? Don't do it. Next Evo tests those products over and over again to make sure you're getting 100% of what is on the label. And they do research as demonstrated by 4 clinical trials. And no other CBD brand comes close to that kind of attention to detail. So I love both the Stress CBD Complex Gummies and the Triple Action CBD Sleep. But let me tell you, that sleep gummy calms your mind with fast-absorbing CBD, then both fast-acting and controlled-release melatonin. So that helps you fall asleep and then stay asleep and wake up refreshed. It's absolutely incredible.
So leave summer stress behind and upgrade your CBD. Go to nextevo.com/gals to get 25% off and a free bottle of premium pure CBD. $50 value, limit 1 use per customer. That's nextevo.com/GALS. And treat your summer.
Treat it.
Okay, well, I don't think you're ready for my case.
I never am. So what else is new?
Yeah, really.
I'm going to be talking about Rabbi Fred Newlander from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And shout out to my friend Zoe, not my sister-in-law Zoe, my friend Zoe, who grew up in this synagogue and first told me about this insane story recently when she was visiting us.
Wow, okay.
She was like, oh my God, you have to cover this guy for your show. And like the amount of times that I hear that from people, I'm like, But she told me this story.
Can I be on your show sometime? No. Absolutely not.
I'm sorry. We just don't have any room for...
It's always men who say that.
Yeah.
It really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, so the bar was set pretty high and I was like, okay, yeah, what's the story? And then she started telling me the story and I was like, wait, what's this guy's name again? And I was like, I had to like write it down.
Hooked.
And then while she was at my house, she called her mom on the phone and her mom was walking around Target because she like couldn't remember some of the details of the case. And she was like, Mom, Rabbi Newlander, do you remember if blah, 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 or blah, blah, blah? And the mom was like, oh, this is what happened. And you got to make sure to cover this. And then while her mom was talking to her about the case in Target, someone overheard and chimed in and was like, oh, yeah, and you have to remember this part of the case.
No!
Because it's such like a big deal in this
my
area.
God.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's
so
incredible.
shout out to Zoe and her mom, and also random Target lady.
You always find a friend at Target.
Yeah. Okay. So Fred Newlander was born on August 14th. He is a Leo, which does not reflect well on my kind, but can't win them all. 1941. He came from a modest but respectable background. His parents ran a dry cleaners, and the family lived above the shop. Young Fred did well in school, and in the early 60s, he attended Trinity College. While he was there, Fred was set up on a blind date with a woman named Carol, who was a year younger and studying at Mount Holyoke. So classic. But unlike Fred, Carol came from some money, which was good news given this dude's personal ambitions. So he locked that shit down quick, and they got married and moved to Cherry Hill, New Jersey, which is just like across the border river, question mark?
Boundary.
Near Philadelphia.
Yep. Very close.
They settled down and had 3 kids, Rebecca, Benjamin, and Matthew.
Oh, cute.
And Fred got a job as the assistant rabbi at the local temple, Emmanuel.
Assistant to the rabbi.
I think assistant rabbi. He was actually a rabbi.
Fine.
So eventually, though, Rabbi Newlander wanted to break off and form his own synagogue that he could lead. He was sick of playing second fiddle. And in the summer of 1974, he, along with some of the more reformed members of the First Temple, founded Congregation Makor Shalom, which means Makor. Yeah, actually. Shout out Makor. She texted me. I have to text her back. Okay. Makor Shalom, which means source of peace, also in Cherry Hill. So now he is like the top dog of his own synagogue that he
Tap dig.
founded. So Rabbi Newlander was a pillar of his community.
Indeed.
His congregants loved him. He's really popular. He's got lots of friends.
He's selling narcotics.
Oh, no.
No, but
He's a doctor.
Kind of.
not quite. But
Oh, no.
we will get to it. For her part, Carol, his wife, Carol Newlander, was also an active and beloved member of the Cherry Hill community. When they first moved there, she noticed that it was hard to get kosher baked goods in town, and the family kept kosher. And so she started to bake them at home herself and then give them out to friends and family.
Cute.
And word soon spread about how delicious her kosher goodies were. And so eventually, Carol and a couple of friends got together and opened a kosher bakery called Classic Cakes.
Oh, my
Cute.
God. That's so stinking cute.
I know. Classic Cakes.
Yum.
Carol's Classic Cakes.
And she was as good of a businesswoman as she was a baker, because by 1987, the bakery had expanded to 2 locations, and that was more than she wanted to handle day to day. At that point, she had 3 kids.
Yeah. She busy.
She busy. So Carol sold the business, but stayed on as a consultant and business manager. As a rabbi, it wasn't uncommon for Fred to interact with all types of people from the community, takes all kinds.
Sure.
After all, it is his duty as a man of God to help anyone who might seek out his wisdom, guidance, just a comforting word.
Keep a chicken sandwich in your purse for after church.
Okay, but yum.
Yum.
Who does your mom do that?
No, that obit I read.
Oh, okay.
With the
She doesn't go to church.
I know.
the grill brush on the possum's back.
Oh, as long as it's a separate grill brush.
It's for your shoes, right? Cleaning your shoes.
A grill brush for cleaning your shoes?
Oh, they used it as a grill brush, or they just put a grill brush on a taxidermied possum's back for cleaning your shoes off?
Do you guys
What?
not remember the obituary that
No.
I read?
First of all, of
No.
course not. Second of all, the you can get those like fucking things for outside your door that literally just look like a grill brush glued upside down for you to like wipe your shoes off on.
yeah.
So I'm just wondering if this was an actual armadillo grill brush that they use on their grill, or if it was an alternative.
I think what Lucy's referring
Shoe cleaner.
to is a kindly old lady using a grill-type brush on a live possum friend.
She had a possum or a groundhog that lived in her shed, and she would pet it with the grill brush because it liked the bristles on its back.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I totally remembered that.
So none of those things. Back to this rabbi. I don't know how we got onto grills and possum.
The chicken sandwich in the purse. It was the same obit.
Okay.
I don't
Takes
ask
all kinds.
questions
So
anymore. Yeah.
Takes all kinds.
In the early 90s, Newlander began to visit a man named Ken Garland in the hospital. Garland was Jewish and wanted to spend time with a rabbi at the end of his life. So he was kind of there, giving spiritual end-of-life talks.
Counsel.
Yeah. Garland's wife, Elaine Soncini, was a prominent Philadelphia radio personality. When Garland died, Rabbi Newlander officiated his funeral because they'd grown close.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the funeral service, Newlander asked Garland's widow, Elaine, if he could call her. I'm assuming to,
check in.
Yeah.
Further follow up on how her grieving process is going.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
She said yes, and he wasted no time. He called her that same night.
Carol didn't like that.
Well, a few days later, Fred invited Elaine to lunch at his place. I'm guessing that Carol wasn't home for this lunch because things with Elaine quickly turned romantic.
Escalated.
Elaine.
And the pair soon started an affair that would last 2 years.
Oh,
Wow.
my God.
This is maybe the craziest and most overlooked part of this whole story. So I just want to really place some emphasis here.
We're picking that up. All right, we're ready.
Elaine Soncini, the widow turned mistress,
Yep.
was Catholic, but she converted to Judaism during this affair.
Well, yeah, if they're going to end up together.
But her husband had been Jewish in life?
Yep.
Interesting.
Didn't convert
So she
for
didn't
the first
convert for her
Lady.
husband.
Lady.
That is an interesting tidbit.
Also,
And it makes you wonder if, you know what I could imagine? I could imagine it's like, he's never going to leave her. I know he's never going to leave her.
Yeah.
And so she does this as like a grand gesture because she wants him to leave his wife and she wants to be with him.
Right.
She's like, I'm converting for you.
Right, probably.
Oh.
That's probably.
That would be my guess.
Also, it is not easy to convert to Judaism.
No, it's a whole thing.
It's
Yeah,
a
it's like
whole
becoming
thing.
a citizen.
You have to
They make
learn
it
a
hard.
new
There are
language.
tests.
Yeah, there's tests.
There are classes.
As well, there
there's
fucking
singing.
should be.
I'd be really pissed if, he just fast-tracked her.
Oh, no.
Did she end up converting?
Yeah,
He probably did fast track. She got her medical degree in 8 months.
probably.
She became a Jew in 8 months.
Honestly, it'd be easier to get a medical degree in 8 months than converting to Judaism. It's not easy.
Kitty's like, I've tried.
I've looked into
I
it.
have my master's and I still can't
Yeah.
convert to Judaism.
And like a Jewish person converting to Christianity, they'll just be like, yeah, cool. You go to
You
church
just have to
now.
show up and say you're Christian now. That's how you become.
You just have to believe it in your heart.
Yeah, it's real easy to fake being Christian.
Yeah.
People do it every day.
Every day.
People in government are doing it all the time.
All the time. Okay, so I also want to note that this was not the only affair that old Fred was having
Sure.
or had. I don't know if they were ongoing or if he was a one mistress at a time kind of guy, but
He was
Not a
faithful
great
to
juggler.
one mistress at a time. He was monogamous in that
he
sense.
was biogamous.
Just biogamous.
Monogamous.
So romantic.
So the New York Times would later report that he'd had at least 2 extramarital affairs, most likely with other women from his congregation. So he's stupping his congregants.
Well, yeah, it's the easiest way to meet people.
Does Carol know
Have
this?
you tried to meet someone? It is so hard to meet
I'm
someone.
really protective
That's why
of
even if
Carol.
I'm miserable, I'm staying with Bill.
I don't know if Carol knew about the affairs. There's no indication that she necessarily knew, but
Poor Carol.
She was busy with her kolaches, though, too.
She's got 3 kids at a bakery.
2 bakeries.
yeah.
A bakery franchise conglomerate.
She knows that the relationship isn't going great.
Well, sure.
That the marriage is not the best it's been.
Are there photos of this guy?
Yes, there are lots of photos of him on the drive.
I want to glare at him while you're talking.
Yeah. There's one where it looks like he's
Oh.
like smelling his finger.
Oh my god.
Oh, he is. He's totally smelling his finger.
Ish.
He's remembering.
Ew.
He smells his finger in multiple pictures.
He's
One, he's
doing
smelling
this
his
to
entire
himself.
hand. He's giving himself stank finger.
He's lying. He's covering his mouth.
Yep.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. So eventually, though, Elaine started to feel guilty about being the other woman, probably
Sure.
because she realized it's not fair. God wouldn't like it.
He's never gonna leave her.
He's never going to leave her.
And she wanted Fred to leave his wife. And she even gave him an ultimatum, an old tomato, in the summer of 1994, saying if he didn't leave Carol by the end of the year, she was going to, quote, start 1995 as a single woman.
Can't
95
do that.
was a great year, though. She should have.
According to Elaine, Fred responded to this ultimatum by saying that she should just wait because, quote, he was sure something would develop.
Hey?
She's gonna have a heart attack any day.
And he mentioned that he was having dreams that, quote, something bad was going to happen to his wife.
Oh, for God's sakes.
He had a premonition. In fact, around this time, Newlander was starting to talk more and more to other people, not just to his mistress, about the possibility of his wife dying,
Jesus.
including with a man named Myron Levin, who Fred regularly played racquetball with.
Ew.
And this friend slash racquetball partner also happened to be a former convict. So one day
Aren't
after...
all racquetball players?
Right?
It is a crime in and of itself to play racquetball.
He was convicted of racketeering.
That was... that was good. That was good. And I'm really disappointed in myself for not having...
You blew it.
I got your back.
So
Like
one
a grill
day...
brush.
One day after a game, Fred declared in front of Levin, quote, I wish I could come home and find my wife dead on the floor, end quote.
Jesus.
Sir.
Levin would later testify that the rabbi also asked him directly if he knew anybody who could kill Carol for him. So Levin wasn't picking up what he was putting down fast enough, so he just was more direct.
My God.
I hate this man so much.
Yeah, he's a bummer.
But Levin wasn't biting. He was enjoying his racquetball freedom and had no desire to see the inside of the cell again. So he just was like, yeah, man, don't we all? Old ball and chain. All right, see you next week. Okay, bye.
To love. I don't know how racquetball works.
Yeah, right.
Oh, my God.
So Myron Levin was a bust, but Fred was undeterred. Soon he turned to a congregant named Len Jenoff.
Never trust a Len.
What a jagoff.
Jenoff was going through it. He was smack dab in the middle of his second divorce, and he'd recently lost his job and custody of his kids due to his alcoholism. So his life is falling apart.
Don't love it.
Have you tried racquetball?
Have you tried racquetball?
Have you tried killing your wife?
Len was also the type that would tell people stupid, fantastical lies, like that he worked for the CIA and shit.
Oh, my God. Why do they always say shit like that?
No, you don't.
You super fucking don't. And we have said this exact thing before on the show. If a man trying to fuck you tells you he's in the CIA,
I can tell you one thing for sure.
he's not in the
That he
CIA.
plays racquetball.
He plays racquetball and he probably like sells shoes at a local department store.
If he's employed, yeah.
If he's even fucking employed. Not that there's any problem with selling shoes. Shoes are very important, but he's not in the CIA.
No.
Yep. I knew someone who, now she is happy and married, but she had a string of not great dating.
Oh no. Is it me?
You only have 6 friends.
is sounding really
this
familiar so
SoundCloud
far.
DJ.
God, and he claimed to be a linguist
She had
in the Air Force.
string of bad ones.
Oh,
But she dated this guy, and I only met him like once. Actually, you guys might have met him. He was at our wedding. So I met him like twice.
I don't remember anything from your. I was so drunk. It was a great night.
Yeah.
I remember sacrificing Madeline.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was the best.
I'll never forget that.
Anyway, so I didn't know him very well, but he like would just really try to be seen as like wealthy, and he told people he was like 37 or something, and he told people that he had retired early. And like
At
so
37,
and tried to make
Good
it
for
seem
him.
like he had like invested in something and like had all this like millions of dollars, whatever.
Okay. Cool guy.
No.
Okay.
He was
Okay, guy.
essentially homeless. Like he
Great.
just didn't have a job and
He's
no
sleeping
money.
on her futon.
Yep. Moved in with her.
Oh, he's
Yep.
a grifter.
Okay.
Woof.
Anyway, like I said, now she's happy and good. Okay, so Jenoff, this loser, had met Rabbi Newlander, other loser, when he started to go to AA meetings at Congregation Makor Shalom, and the two men grew close. Or rather, Len grew close to Fred, and Fred is a psychopath and recognized a vulnerable and malleable person that he could
Ding,
exploit
Mm-hmm.
for his own purposes. Len had confided in the rabbi that one of his dreams in life was to become a Mossad agent.
I thought you were going to say massage therapist, and I was
too.
getting very
a
upset.
massage therapist.
Oh,
My
God.
dream in life.
is to become a massage therapist.
What's a
Actually, I
Mossad
couldn't
agent?
do it. My hands would not.
I couldn't do
It'd
it
be
either 'cause
hard.
I
It'd be
just don't
really
want
hard.
to.
Takes a lot of work
To be
I need
good
to
at
schedule
it.
a massage. I'm gonna
Yeah.
do that right now. I'm listening.
Okay, so he wants to be a Mossad agent, which, like, newsflash, you can't become a Mossad agent if you already work for the CIA.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's,
what is that?
It's like the Israeli CIA /
Oh,
special
okay.
forces.
Sure.
Do they do Krav Maga? Krav Maga?
Yeah.
Mossad Krav Maga.
They like invented Krav Maga.
Okay.
Wow.
There
They're
we
like
go.
badass secret agent, spy, killer people with like insane skills.
So what you're saying is, by this guy saying that he aspired to be that, you know he's totally full of shit.
Yeah.
Legit. Oh,
Yeah.
full of shit.
That's worse than the CIA lie.
You know he's totally full of shit.
You know he hates herbs.
So, in the fall of 1994, with Elaine's old tomato deadline approaching fast, because remember, she said by the end of 1994, and now it's fall, Newlander reached out to Jenoff, telling him that his wife, Carol, the lovable Rebbetzin and mom of 3 and kosher bakery lady,
No.
was a, quote, enemy of Israel, and therefore needed to be killed.
She's a kosher
Oh.
baker.
My God, this poor woman.
Ugh. He offered Jenoff $30,000 to kill his wife by November 1st of that year and told
Oh my
him that
God.
in turn, as a prominent rabbi, he could help Jenoff become a Mossad agent.
Massage therapist.
Oh my
Got it.
God.
What the fuck?
And Jenoff was in.
Well, right, because he's vulnerable.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Mhm. So the plan was to attack Carol and make it look like a robbery gone wrong. Jenoff went to Carol's house posing as a delivery man. He then knocked on the door, rang the doorbell, whatever, and then asked if he could use the bathroom, which she agreed to.
Mm-hmm.
And he went and used the bathroom, but then he got cold
Didn't
feet
flush.
and couldn't go through with it. He
Couldn't go through with using the bathroom?
no, he probably went through with using the bathroom. He couldn't go
He
through
had a
with
very
killing
shy
her.
bladder.
He couldn't
He
shit.
had a very shy bladder, but he killed
He
her.
had to
just-
run the water and it still didn't work.
That's bad.
Ugh.
No, so
Fuck this guy.
so he's in the house. She sees him. They have a little bit of a conversation. He uses her bathroom, and then he's like, "Okay, thanks, bye," and leaves.
Oh.
God.
So then Len asked his roommate, Paul Michael Daniels, to help him with the crime. And he, without telling the rabbi, he gets this roommate involved.
Brings in another person.
an emotional support
Mm-hmm.
accomplice.
Mm-hmm.
So Daniels was also troubled. He was unemployed, mentally ill, and an addict, and possibly a very well-respected Parisian doctor. I don't know. So
Who's to say?
both men were easily manipulated by Newlander under the guise of providing spiritual guidance.
Sure.
So now his confidence buoyed by having a partner in crime, Jenoff and Daniels start a podcast. No, I'm kidding.
No! Oh my God.
Our confidence was buoyed.
It still is.
They return to Carol's house a week later, and the rest of this is so fucking sad. This poor woman, all she'd ever done was like go to
Exist.
raise her children, be like this loving rabbi's wife in the community, be good to her friends, be good to her children, be good to her neighbors, like run this business. Like she just was like this sparkling, kind
lady
person. And this fucking asshole just didn't want
her
the
out of the
trouble
way
of a divorce.
Yep, exactly.
What a prick.
So this part is so sad. Carol was actually on the phone with her daughter, Rebecca, and she said something like, "Oh, it's the delivery guy from last week, and he has a friend with him. I'll call you right back."
Oh, God.
Oh, so that things went fine last time. She trusted them enough to just open her door to them.
Which was not the plan. That was
but it worked out kind of well.
Oh, no.
Oh, fuck, man.
And that was
Poor
the last
thing.
time that Carol would speak with any of her loved ones. Like, that's the last thing her daughter heard her mom say.
That's so sad. What the fuck was he delivering the first time?
I don't know.
Besides his turds in her toilet.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Right.
He couldn't deliver. He couldn't perform.
No. Make.
So,
No.
it's like a very, like, brutal...
No.
It's not like they, like, planned ahead and had a gun, and it was not that
just
they would
fucking
be...
shoot her in the head. If you're gonna kill someone, just do it. Put her out of her goddamn
if you're
misery.
like panicking and hesitating,
Well, Jenoff hit Carol multiple times with a lead pipe,
What?
knocking her out.
What is this, 1948 street toughs fucking rolling up with a lead pipe on this poor woman's house?
Where'd you even get a lead pipe?
Seriously? Oh, well, I did find that one lead pipe after
Yeah,
our,
you did.
our
And then you left after our reunion.
and then got drunk, dragged it all the way to your house, and then left it outside, and your mom thought it fell from like an airplane.
She did. She goes, I'm finding weird things in the yard. There's
Debris.
a traffic cone.
I got
And
the
then there's a
traffic cone.
pipe
It is
that-
now at my house.
Well, there was some other shit. There was like a fork.
Oh yeah, I kept the
found this
plate
piece
and the
of-
traffic cone. Everything else I collected stayed at your
It
house.
fell out of
anyway,
an airplane.
that's how you get a lead pipe.
Okay.
Bursting your poor mom's bubble. That
She
it
also,
didn't
like-
fall out of an airplane.
She
I know, she's
mentioned
probably
it like
really
weeks
excited.
later. She didn't even call to be like, what is this and where did it come from? She's
Because
like,
the only
oh.
logical immediate thought is, oh, lead pipe must have fallen from the sky.
It was
in
like
from an
weird-
airplane.
it had like a weird like flangey on it.
It did have a flange.
Yeah.
It
It
did.
had some weird it was like kind of oily.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
No,
right.
it was
Probably-
recently
It was probably
used.
important to some mechanism.
Well, if it was so important, why was it laying out for me to grab when I was drunk?
Why were
riddle
those
me
valet
that.
keys just laying out?
I didn't take the keys. I took the adjoining ticket so that they would struggle to get
Ticket.
their keys.
You also just grabbed a full like table setting off of that outdoor.
Sure did. Shoved it in my Spanx. Shoved it in my Spanx next to an extremely warm flask of Kahlua that I was sipping from all night.
Shout out to Blave Blom for
Blave Blom.
DDing us home that night.
Yeah, we got help.
Okay.
Back to this
horrific murder.
Oh, right. I forgot why
I
we were
was
here for
trying to
1 second.
stay the murder.
I blissfully forgot the tragedies.
I know. So it's Jenoff and Daniels. They have a lead pipe and they just brutally murder Carol, and then they flee the scene. And it's actually difficult to assess which, if any, was like the fatal blow because it's a...
She was hit so many times. Yeah. Oh my God.
So Fred came home sometime later to find Carol, his wife of like 30 years, on
Mother
the
of his
floor
children.
of their
beaten to death.
all-white living room.
Oh, do you know that?
Yes.
Oh.
In a pool of blood.
But it's what he wanted.
He paid for it.
He fucking paid for
Solicited it.
The scene is just grotesque.
Yeah.
Also,
The scene is horrifying.
white living room.
It's 1994.
Yeah, you're
He immediately calls 911, but Carol was pronounced dead at the scene. When detectives arrived, however, they noted that Fred had no blood on him whatsoever, something that they found unusual.
Yeah, you'd
Like
go
no blood
try
even
to
from going, checking to see if she's alive.
Exactly.
weeping over
Hugging her. Yeah.
The lack of blood suggested that he had not bothered to touch the body, even to check for a pulse or determine whether Carol was still breathing.
Yeah, that's sus.
The mistress, Elaine Soncini, was questioned multiple times over the span of several months.
Was she questioned because it was known that they were having an affair, or was she connected to the family in another way?
There must have been something linking them as maybe phone calls. They didn't have
Okay.
cell phones, but like
Your case and my case are not dissimilar.
there must be some way that they suspected that they were having an affair.
Sure.
She denied the affair for a really long time under police questioning, but she finally admitted it in December 1995. At this point, authorities were building a case against Newlander with the theory that he didn't want a divorce because it would bring his infidelity to light and harm his reputation in the community.
Yeah, that'll do it.
In 1998, Newlander was indicted for murder, but the case was entirely circumstantial and didn't lead to his arrest because they didn't have
Enough actual evidence.
and
After
they didn't
3 years.
they didn't know who had actually committed the murder, like who he'd hired. They
Well, and it's still the
suspected-
90s, so DNA is still like, as a forensic tool, is still kind of in its infancy at that point.
Yeah, they didn't leave
So
a ton of DNA as far as I know.
Yeah.
Either.
So it's not implausible that they could have kind of gotten away with it for a while until someone is really able to connect the dots.
There aren't cell phones. There's no internet like that they're using.
Right.
You know,
Damn.
he was having in-person conversations with this Jenoff guy because he was doing AA meetings at the temple.
Yeah, he's a pillar of the community.
Right. He talks to a lot of people in the community, and everybody in the community says, you know, that they like him.
Yep.
So it didn't lead to his arrest. To save face, the bereaved rabbi made a show of hiring a private detective to help him find out what had happened to his wife. But
Way fucking later.
who was the private detective that he hired? Carol's killer, Len Jenoff.
You gotta be fucking.
What? He's not a private
kidding me.
detective.
Anyone?
He is now.
Anyone, yeah. Well, he
Oh.
was CIA and Mossad, so why not be a PI?
I guess. Ugh.
Anyway, that was the link to your case.
Oh,
he
got
hired.
It. Got it.
So finally, in 1999/early 2000, Len Jenoff becomes infatuated with a reporter at the Philadelphia Inquirer named Nancy Phillips. I don't know how these two initially got connected. Likely because he had a fucking crush on this woman, Len wanted to keep her attention. So he broke down and confessed to Nancy his part in the killing of Carol Newlander.
A reporter?
No.
A reporter for the
This sounds like
Inquirer.
the Martin Scully fucking.
Yeah, that document, or was it just an article?
Yeah, it was some reporter that like fell in love with him or whatever and
Yeah.
visited him in prison. But yeah.
So Nancy, the reporter, convinced Jenoff to go to the police, and he eventually did, confessing and agreeing to testify against his former rabbi. And then to save his own ass, the accomplice, Daniels, also followed Jenoff's lead and did like a plea deal. The subsequent trial was a sensation in the press. It was broadcast live on court TV and had a ton of media coverage. I cannot even imagine the buzz around Cherry Hill and
I don't watch enough
McCore
court
Shalom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is court TV still around?
I think so.
It is, but
You
it's
can
not
get it
like
on
live
cable,
court
basic
proceedings
cable.
anymore.
Oh. Boo.
Well,
Somehow-
this was like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And?
Somehow the trial ended in a hung jury. So the case was dismissed and then immediately refiled so they could try him again.
Yep.
At the retrial in 2002, Fred Newlander was found guilty of conspiring to murder his wife. One element that hit him really hard, because he's also a victim here,
Right.
was testimony from his son, Matthew. At the first trial, Matthew's testimony was described as lukewarm. But at the second, he was just like really straight facts.
Ready to,
And just unemotional and not giving his dad anything, basically. And he basically like recounted some other incident that proved that his parents were fighting and that their marriage was like on the rocks and that they were arguing before she was murdered.
Right.
And discussing divorce. So that was his contribution, his testimony.
Which is motive.
Yeah.
That's very valuable testimony for sure.
So while the prosecutor, Jim Lynch, did seek the death penalty, you don't want like a prosecutor named Lynch, but
Not great.
the jury could not unanimously agree on it. They agreed on the guilty verdict unanimously, obviously, but they didn't agree on the death penalty. And so instead, they sentenced him to 30 years to life. In a bizarre interview with Barbara Walters after the after the verdict, Newlander said, quote, "You have no idea how much rage I have."
Oh.
And talked about his own sadness that two of his three children, Rebecca and Matthew, testified against him. Rebecca, I'm sure, talking about hearing her mom say on the phone, it's that delivery guy and his friend.
Got it.
The third kid, the other son, Benjamin, didn't speak at the trial.
Sure.
During the second, so Newlander, Fred is pissed that his kids testified against him.
Yeah, they were kind of the nail in his coffin.
It's gross that inspired rage in a parent
Yeah, it's really gross.
of all the emotions.
During the second trial, both Rebecca and Matthew denounced their father as, quote, evil, cowardly, and arrogant in court.
These poor kids.
They talked about the pain of not having their mother in the years ahead and called their...
Well, their mother was taken from them, and now they know, like, the full truth about their dad, so they've lost both parents 100%.
No, it's horrific.
It's so fucking awful.
They described their father as sociopathic, self-absorbed, cruel, and delusional.
I wonder if they had any of those feelings toward him before this, or if this was, like, kind of an out of the
Total
blue.
shock.
Yeah.
I think you must pick up on the
Something.
self-absorption and some of the delusional, like some of that.
Sure.
But they might not, they probably didn't know about the affairs. They probably, couldn't have imagined.
He'd ever do this.
Right.
Yeah, who
It just
would?
breaks my fucking heart.
So Matthew wouldn't even refer to Fred as my dad or my father. Instead, he just would use his name. He just would say Fred.
Good for him.
So Newlander responded with a speech of his own.
Good.
At
They
trial,
always fucking
or at
do.
sentencing, whenever they allow, probably at sentencing. Mm-hmm. A 20-minute affair.
Oh my
What?
god!
No, get the hook. Gong.
Play him
The
off.
Absolutely
the music
fucking
plays him
not.
off.
Yes. Bassoon that motherfucker off stage. Where are the Oscars orchestra when we fucking need those folks? Why is it the Jurassic Park?
Always. It's like My brain
Always,
is just
it always
hardwired to go to the Jurassic Park theme played slowly on a single violin.
I really do think what sentencing trials are missing is the Jurassic Park theme cutting a perp off prematurely in the middle of his 20-minute speech.
Rage speech.
Also,
Bye-bye.
always getting the funeral march and the Star Wars song mixed up. They're the same song.
really,
They're the same
really,
song.
really similar.
Yeah, find the difference between these two photos.
They're the same photo.
So he claimed he was innocent. He described, though, his, quote, dual personality. This is his words during his I'm innocent verbal manifesto.
Ish.
Saying that he had, quote, an internal person and an external person.
Don't we all?
He said that his external self was hurt and embarrassed by the verbal assaults of his children and relatives, but his private and internal personal life was not affected.
Great.
Okay, psycho.
Bye. Go to
Sticks
jail now.
and
Bye.
stones.
God. Way to redeem yourself.
He told the judge, quote, what I need to tell you is that the internal part of me cannot be reached. We know you're a psychopath. He goes on, quote, I can't be reached.
No.
Sorry, I'm not home right now. Internal self is going to jail.
Both myselves are going to jail.
So fucking stupid. This guy is such a loser.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can't be reached because the internal person knows something that no one else in this room knows, and that is my innocence. I know in my heart and mind the verdict is wrong. I cannot express remorse for something I did not do. That place is so private and knows the truth. I can only know that I am innocent.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. My favorite response to an annoying text.
This
Okay.
might be the new K, which I did to what's his name?
Mike Boudet.
I hit Mike Boudet with the best K
No.
message of
Yeah.
all time.
You really
years
did.
ago. Anyway. Oh, good times.
Okay.
Fuck that dude. Okay.
The worst.
The judge had a great comeback K moment. The judge was unmoved and said, quote, you had a fair trial.
Get the fuck out of here. Bye.
Okay.
K.
You had a fair
You
trial.
had a fair trial.
Bye.
In December 2006, Newlander's team appealed his sentence. They argued that the trial court had erred in not permitting Newlander to argue a third-party liability defense based on a similar home invasion burglary murder that had also occurred in the area. The New Jersey Superior Court upheld the conviction and said that he is not eligible for parole until 2030 when he would be 88 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Jenoff and Daniels were released from prison in 2014 because they had those plea deals. In 2022, at the Geffen Playhouse in Los Angeles, a musical called A Wicked Soul in Cherry Hill.
That's a beautiful name for a macabre musical.
Right.
Yeah.
Was, this musical about this crime. It made its debut.
A musical.
Hey, they've got the Glen Sheen musical. They do it all the
I
time.
know. I just think that's so funny.
Yeah. Well, we have a comedy show, but yeah. The Playhouse originally described the show as being written with, quote, humor and chutzpah on its website, but the play's description has since been changed, and that's because the kids
People affected are very much still alive
really
and
were not fans of this.
no.
So the Playhouse later posted this, quote, this play neither sensationalizes nor laughs at the tragic murder that took place in Cherry Hill. On the contrary, it is a piece that examines how a community moves forward when something horrific and heartbreaking shakes their faith.
And that's fine, but then don't bill it as like a zany comedy musical
Right.
about the
Package it a
This
little more
bad
sensitively.
situation. Yeah, you gotta fucking keep your shit locked up. We know.
Yeah, it's a
Trust,
it's a
we
fine
know.
line to walk, but we try. We recognize that the description of the play failed to convey this and it has been amended accordingly. Matt Schatz, who was raised in South Jersey, has chosen to tell this story through song, and we believe that the play leads with heart. It paints a thoughtful, poignant portrait of a community that has suffered an incalculable loss, end quote.
Okay, that's a better approach.
Yes, I have not seen the play or read that. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on the play because I haven't seen it. But I know
stay
that
tuned for the next episode of Unimpressed.
Probably.
Because she went to the TKTS booth.
Because if
and
anybody
bitch got tickets.
loves to get an opinion.
Ticket.
So that is this case. And thank you again to my friend Zoe for telling me about it. Because Zoe grew up in this congregation.
That's
at
wild.
that time.
Yeah. I mean, she was a kid at this time.
Right.
She doesn't actually remember this dude. But
Still.
yeah.
Cool.
You are 1 degree of Kevin Bacon away from this heinous murder.
Right?
Nicely done.
And I hope that, Rebecca and Benjamin and Matthew are doing well, and I'm so sorry for your loss.
Yeah, I wonder who did their grandparents maybe raise the ones who still
They
were
might have
adult
already
home?
they might already have been
out of the house.
out of the house
Okay.
or close to.
But still,
I didn't look up their exact ages at the time that this happened, but yeah, they might have
poor
already
babies.
been. They were probably already adults because this happened in the
Or at
mid
least one's
'90s,
in
and
college, maybe.
their parents married in the mid '60s.
Yeah, they'd been married for
Sure.
30 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
when
okay,
she died.
okay. Yeah, so they were out.
Yeah.
They were out of the
Yeah,
house. Okay. Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
Wow, good job.
Well, my case is not that different, so should we take a
Yeah.
quick break and then get right to it?
Yeah.
Do it.
Let's do it.
We know that getting in daily movement and exercise is crucial for our overall health and well-being, and it really, I know, makes a big difference in my mood. But it is very easy to make excuses. We don't have enough time. Maybe you're lacking motivation. Don't have
I
access.
saw a butterfly, so I don't want to go.
My toe hurts.
My
All
tongue
very-
is dry.
All very valid. My big one is no access to equipment and not feeling like going to the gym.
Yep.
But Echelon Fitness could be the game changer that you have been looking for.
Echelon Fitness is the affordable way to get the workout equipment, the workout community, and an instructor's motivation right in the comfort and privacy of your own home. So
Love
this
it.
app provides you with over 1,500 live classes a month and offers over 15,000 round-the-clock on-demand classes with world-class instructors and really good music from your favorite artists so you can stay pumped.
That makes a huge difference, seriously. The motivating tunes.
Agreed.
Get out of here.
And with Echelon, one membership covers a family of 5.
Amazing.
Spread the love. Echelon makes quality, reliable, affordable exercise equipment accessible to all.
So text WINE, W-I-N-E, to 818181 to get $200 off your new Echelon. Again, just text WINE to 818181 to get this special discount plus free shipping and risk-free 30-day returns. One more time, text WINE to 818181. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. And treat your fitness. Okay, are you ready for my case?
I don't know, dude.
People,
Yeah, let's
I
say
guess.
it.
you'll know immediately. And I haven't watched any of the now 2 docuseries dramatizations about this.
I'm surprised
Because-
that you haven't. They're both really good.
I wanted to wait until I knew what this fucking case was about before I dove in. So guess what I'm going to be doing for the next 3 days? Do not. Sorry, I'm not home right now. I'm walking into spider webs. Okay, so this case is extremely famous, like I said, and I know that folks have also asked us to cover this before, so here you go, bitches. I also, weirdly enough, have a friend who is she's older than me. Not significantly older than me, but older than me, which is why it makes sense that she would know this person. But she knew this person's husband. It was so shocked to hear about this case because he was such an unassuming kind of milquetoast dude.
How did she know
she-
the husband?
She knew him through work circles.
Oh my God.
Couldn't believe this kind of drama could exist in this
Wow.
man's orbit. So here we go. Candy Montgomery was born Candace Lynn Wheeler on November 15th, 1945, a
I
Scorpio.
don't know what this is.
Oh, you'll know.
You guys
haven't
have
seen
got to watch these shows.
Candy is on Hulu and Jessica Biel plays her with the little afro and the little
big old glasses.
tinted glasses.
Okay, I've seen an ad for the Jessica Biel thing, but I haven't
Yeah,
watched
so
it.
that's been out for a while, and then more recently there's one with Elizabeth Olsen that's on HBO.
Okay, I've seen the first episode of that.
It's supposed to be even
really
better.
Good. I would
it.
start
Than the
with
other
with the Hulu Jessica Biel
That's
one.
what I'm
just
gonna do.
because
I'm
it's
gonna start with the
not
Hulu
quite
one.
as good in my opinion.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna work my way up. But now I'll give you the details of this case so you'll kind of have an idea of what's going on when you watch it.
Okay.
So she went from Wheeler to Montgomery when she married Pat Montgomery, an electrical engineer in the early 70s. They had 2 kiddos together and decided to raise their family in the quiet Christian community of Collin County, Texas. Now, Collin County is indeed a county in Texas with like a handful of towns so small that these towns like don't have names. So they just collectively refer to this area as Collin County as if it's one town. Like that's how little and close-knit and like remote this community was. It's not that far outside of Dallas, but this is definitely where in the 70s, like lower to middle class white people were leaving the city, and this is where they could get land and get property at an affordable price.
Okay.
So Candy was very involved in the local Methodist church. Like basically everyone knew everyone because they all went to church together. And this is where she met and quickly befriended a woman named Betty Gore, who was a middle school teacher. Betty and Candy became besties, and the church was, as Candy described, the center of her universe. They worked on countless volunteer projects through the church, securing her status as a pillar of the community.
Oh my God, we said the name of the title in all of our cases.
We did because we're so professional.
On top of it.
The titular line. Betty and Alan were having issues in their marriage, so Alan is Betty's husband, long before Betty and Candy became besties. Alan traveled a lot for work, and Betty really struggled being home alone, and she also hated her job. I think she was just dealing with a lot of depression and anxiety, and it was, you know, the 70s, and like nobody gave a shit. It was like, stay home, deal with your kid, whatever. The issues were there before they had their second child, but in a classic case of like unhealed adults putting their baggage on the next generation, Betty's like, things are not going well in my life. I want another baby.
Yeah.
And Alan was like, I don't know about that so much, but I guess I don't, you can do it. I guess we can.
How many kids
And
did she
then-
have first? Like 3?
One. No, she had one. Betty at this point had one child.
Oh, okay.
Candy had 2 kids.
Okay.
Betty had 1 kid and was not feeling super great in her life, not super great in her marriage, and was like, it's time for baby number 2.
Fixating on that. Okay.
Correct. So now Alan feels like the spark in their sex life is totally out because the only reason, like Betty was very, and I am not victim blaming Betty. I am just pointing out some details that Betty was very fixated, as you said, on getting pregnant. And so now like sex was very scheduled. It was very rigid. The only
I'm
sexual
ovulating.
contact, correct. The only sexual contact that Betty wanted really with Alan at all, according to Alan and some other friends,
Is another
is another baby. Very rigid, very scheduled so that she could get pregnant. And like, this is not the only time I've heard about that happening in like my own friends' relationships.
course,
Where they're like, yeah, we're really trying and sex is like kind of a chore right now because it's all about getting pregnant. But you don't do what is about to happen just because you're going through a bit of
A spot.
a rough patch in your marriage.
Right.
Around this time was when Candy and Pat, her husband, moved to town, and they already had their 2 kids, 2 young children. And then Candy and Alan had a fucking meet cute that could have been played by J-Lo and Matthew McConaughey. They're at a church volleyball game because they all go to the same church, and the 2 of them are playing volleyball and literally crash into each other while going after the same like fly ball.
Wow. And that ball represents
Their whole future.
freedom.
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 From People magazine, quote, Candy thought Alan smelled sexy
Oh.
and began to fantasize about having an affair with
His
him.
volleyball socks.
ugh.
It does throw me off a tiny bit, the actor who plays Alan
Yeah.
in
Because Alan and,
the show.
honestly, Alan, Pat, Candy, and Betty, they are not super hot people like Elizabeth Olsen and fucking Jessica Biel and like these.
Are you talking about
white-
Jesse Plemons?
Yeah.
In the HBO
Yeah.
one?
Kirsten
Yeah.
Dunst's husband.
He is such a weird looking person.
He's a great actor, but
Oh,
he
he's
has
phenomenal.
a very
Yes.
specific look that doesn't do it for me.
It's not great. So Candy thought Alan smelled sexy
ish.
and began to fantasize about having an affair with him. One night after choir practice, Candy approached Alan in his car and said she'd been thinking about him a lot and wanted to know if they should act on her attraction. Candy had been wanting to escape from her boring marriage with boring Pat, and Alan literally fell.
It's Pat.
Yeah, it's Pat. And Alan literally fell right into her. Like they crashed into each other.
It was
So-
fate.
This next part is from an incredible 2-part piece on this case published by Texas Monthly.
Yes,
Yes.
I told you I have a subscription to now.
I have the
great
links to both
publication.
parts in my sources list. Please do yourself a favor, put the baby to bed, pour yourself a glass of wine, get into the bathtub, and read both parts.
Absolutely,
It is
I will.
Twist my rubber arm.
Incredibly written. I'm obsessed with it. Says, quote, for several weeks, she had been talking abstractly to friends about having an affair. Candy wanted something to shake up her very boring life with Pat. She was explicit about the kind of affair she was interested in, transcendent sex, as she put it. I want fireworks.
Jesus Christ.
And if you look at Alan fucking Gore, literally Al Gore,
Fireworks.
fireworks.
Firework blew through his hairline.
That hairline
Yes.
is something. It's like
It's
being
sauce.
unzipped from his scalp.
It is being unzipped. Poor bastard.
Ew.
So Alan initially said no, and that his wife was newly pregnant with their second baby, that it would be wrong to step out on her. But that lasted like all of 8 seconds, and the two started seeing each other on the side after Candy approached him once again post church volleyball game when he was smelling his sexiest. When Alan walked Candy to her car. According to Texas Monthly, the conversation went a little like this. And I want to say, I love when Kenyon gives us opportunities to flex our acting chops. So who would like to play Alan and who would like to play Candy?
Do you have a preference?
No.
I'll be Candy.
Okay.
All right, take it away.
Gideon, would you be interested in having an affair?
I don't know what to say.
Well, it's just something I've been thinking about, and I wanted to say it, so I don't have to think about it anymore.
This is fucking amazing.
I don't think I could, Candy. I don't think it would be a wise thing to do because I love Betty. Once when we were living in New Mexico, she had an affair that hurt me a lot, and I wouldn't want to do that to her.
Well, that's fine, Alan. I love Pat, too. I wouldn't want to hurt him either.
Betty just got pregnant again, too, and it would be unfair to her, especially since I don't feel the same way about you that I do about her, so I probably couldn't do something like that.
Well, okay, Alan, I was just putting the option out there because of how I felt, and it's up to you to decide. I don't want to hurt your marriage. All I wanted to do was go to bed. I won't mention it again.
But then later said,
You know, if you don't go to bed with me pretty soon, Alan, then you'll never be able to live up to the expectation I have of you in bed.
wow. Okay, that was absolutely stunning. First, I want to acknowledge how flawless the performances were, but the Academy Award goes to Kenyon as Candy.
Thank you. And it
That
was a
sounded
cold
exactly
read.
like her.
It was shocking.
Thank you so much.
You're
Go
so
figure
welcome.
you're really good at like a Texan church lady murderer accent.
I could cosplay
Oh, and
as a
should.
Texan
You
church
do.
lady. I do frequently. It's called Halloween.
and
Casual
just
Tuesday.
hanging out.
Or anytime we do a Texas live show.
Pretty much.
At the end of your case, I have a tiny little update about my case. Emphasis on tiny.
Ooh, okay.
Uh-oh.
Oh, God. Hold on to it. Hold on to it. I can't wait. Okay, so after they have this sexually charged conversation, Alan responds to this by leaning over and kissing Candy on the mouth
Wow.
before, like,
sweet
scurrying out of the
volleyball
car.
split.
He said he couldn't do that to Betty.
He said he couldn't do it to Betty, but then he kissed her and then, like, ran away, which reminds me of, like, my first kiss with my middle school boyfriend.
Oh, yeah. If you don't run away,
Didn't
is it
even
really
happen.
a first kiss?
But he thought about it all and came back to her about a week later with a phone call. So, Lucy, would you like to read for Alan?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, this is Alan. I have to go to McKinney tomorrow to get some tires checked on the new truck I brought up there. I wondered if you'd like to have lunch, to talk a little more about what we talked about before.
So, it was on.
I'm really just shocked at how accurate and like frame for frame the show has been
Yeah.
so far.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
It's wild. So, Candy was a real Rachel Leviss and was banging her new BFF's husband, who is the Sandoval in this scenario. So, an affair obviously needs boundaries, and they decided that this was just for sex because they found their spouses boring as fuck. And if they started to catch feelings, they would call it off. And other boundaries on a literal pros and cons list that they made together on like big poster paper.
So romantic.
So romantic. Included
Manic.
so manic.
Romantic.
Trolly manic. If either one of them ever wanted to end the affair for whatever reason, it would end, no questions asked. If either one became too emotionally involved, the affair would end.
Because that's always so easy to do, especially once you've become emotionally involved.
Right.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Right.
Just turn it off like a light switch.
Yep. If they ever started taking risks that shouldn't be taken, the affair would end. That's vague.
Okay. Well, the affair started. That's a
Yep.
risk.
Exactly. All expenses, food, motel rooms, and gasoline would be shared equally.
Okay.
They would
God,
need
this sounds
only...
like a Kenyan affair. Just a list.
Oh, I would have to have
this,
a list.
Yeah,
Spreadsheet.
This
Yeah.
has Kenyan written
I
all
don't think
over
I
it.
have it in me to have an affair, but
You don't.
I would definitely plan like this.
Yeah.
You don't have it in you, but
you
if
don't.
you got a TBI and changed almost
Yeah.
entirely, this is the part of your personality from before that would survive.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
the
would
real
survive.
deep part
It's
of my
strong.
brain chemistry.
Yeah.
Real strong.
They would only meet on weekdays while their spouses were at work. Candy would be in charge of fixing lunch on the days they met so that they could have more time because she's a stay-at-home mama, but Betty is a school teacher. They figured they would need all of Alan's 2-hour lunch break, so he can't waste time.
What a luxury.
Yeah.
How far away
setting
is
up-
McKinney from wherever they lived?
I'm not sure, and I don't know if that's where they consistently met up, but
Might
it's
have been
in
an
Texas.
outlier trip.
I think he was just like, hey, my wife already knows I'm leaving for this reason. Do you want to come with me
yes.
so we can figure this out?
It was an opportunity.
Candy would be in charge of getting the motel rooms for the same reason. She's going to plan ahead. He doesn't have time. They have to make every minute count. They would meet on a Tuesday or a Thursday once every 2 weeks. And that was because Candy was free only on days when her little boy attended the Playday preschool at Allen Methodist Church.
What do you mean you have a fever? I don't care. You're going to preschool.
I'm busy.
Mom, my eyes are bleeding. Get
Yeah.
in the car.
Go.
That's not pink eye. You just poked yourself. Get in.
Get in. You're fine. Walk it off. Blink it off.
Blink it off.
Get an ice pack.
Who doesn't have lice at preschool? Go. Go.
Yeah. This is not my problem.
Mommy needs to get laid.
Seriously. She took him each Tuesday and Thursday from 9 to 2, but she figured that she would need 3 out of 4 of those school days for all the other errands and church and school duties in her hectic schedule.
Yeah, she couldn't let standards slip.
Correct.
Right.
While they were porking, Candy threw Betty a fucking baby shower.
Oh, God.
Candy
full
invited
shower, or was
Betty
it a
and her
sprinkle?
husband on a glamping trip for her birthday.
Wait,
It's
really?
fine. No, Vanderpump Rules.
Okay,
Just
okay.
don't worry about it. Candy and Alan continued their affair for the entire pregnancy, but shortly after the baby was born in 1979, Alan decided he wanted to go all in on his marriage and his growing family and called things off with Candy. This is a totally not important detail, but it might be my favorite detail.
By all means.
Alan wanted to find the spark again with Betty and even passed on a recommendation that he had gotten from friends at church who had used a program called Marriage Encounter.
I remember this from the HBO.
If your church friends approach you with this idea, it's just always going to be a yes.
Were they
always
church swingers?
Yeah. Yup. Quote, some friends from his church, Joanne and Richard Garlington, had gone to to a Dallas motel one weekend for a special marriage encounter session in which several couples talked, heavy quotes from me, about their marriages and tried to strengthen their commitment. Alan didn't understand exactly what went on there, but he knew that the Garlingtons came back beaming and almost absurdly joyous.
So it was a swinging sex
It
thing?
absolutely was a sex thing. They said they were hooked on Marriage Encounter and immediately set about trying to get other couples to join. End quote.
Other hot couples.
LOL, they all just go to a motel and fuck each other, Alan. You know exactly what they do in Marriage Encounter.
But if they
they're
talk about
Christian
God,
about it.
yeah, if they talk
They're
about
Christian
God,
about
it's
it.
allowed.
It's to strengthen their
The
marriage.
marriage. Betty shut down this suggestion immediately.
Betty's no fucking idiot.
No, and she was also I was reading some of the like recreations of their conversation according to Alan, and Betty was like, I am busy. Like, I have a brand new baby.
I'm a teacher.
I'm a teacher. We also have an older daughter. I fucking work full time. Like,
Yeah.
when the fuck do you want me to have the energy to go spread it for a bunch of other fucking couples at a motel in
Random
Dallas?
dude. Yeah.
Like, hard
No.
pass.
Yeah.
It's not fucking happening.
Grow
Not
up,
into
Alan.
it.
Grow up, Alan. I had a baby 7 minutes ago. What the fuck are you doing?
I
Jesus
haven't
Christ.
birthed the placenta yet.
Seriously. God. Anyway, but Alan still doesn't return to Candy. Like that relationship is over. Candy kind of stewed over the breakup while still playing fake friend to Betty. Time goes on. Alan thinks the dust is all settled and we're all friends. Like, it's just, this is water under the bridge. And now he has a newborn, and this baby is now several months old, and the routine is like established at home. So he's like, I'm going to start traveling again for business. So he leaves town on a business trip in June of 1980. On Friday, June 13th, literally fucking Friday the 13th, he had been gone for a few days, and that morning, like the first half of that day, he had not been able to get a hold of Betty all morning. He's been like calling their house over and over again. No one's answering. So he asked a neighbor to check on her, like go to the door and ring the doorbell, but nobody answered. But apparently this neighbor was like fairly sure that they were home because they could hear the like 6-7 month old baby crying in the house, and was probably just like, she's got her hands full.
And she's supposed to be home because it's summer, so she's not
Correct.
at work. She's not teaching.
Correct.
And the car was in the driveway, probably.
Yes, and they have an older daughter, but actually Candy already had the older daughter with her because there was like a planned daytime play date with like going to the movies with her kids and then taking them swimming. And so it was just Betty and the baby that were at home. So Alan calls Candy, who like is aware that she's watching the older daughter at the time. And Candy is like, Betty, I'm sure she's fine. Like, I went by earlier today to get so-and-so daughter's bathing suit and pick her up. Like, I'm sure she's fine. A few hours and several more attempts to contact Betty later, Alan instructed a neighbor to basically break into their house and just like get some eyes on what's going on here. Upon entry, They found the Gore's infant daughter in her crib, crying, alive,
Oh my God.
covered in her own feces after being left for hours unattended. I mean, thank God she was at least in her crib so she couldn't, like, get out and hurt herself.
Fall down the stairs or something.
Exactly. The neighbor said there were, quote, oceans of blood out in the hallway leading to a utility room door.
Oceans.
So they follow the blood trail and they find Betty dead from what was later determined to be multiple axe wounds.
Axe?
Axe.
The HBO series is really
Graphic.
realistic about it, too. It was
Well, and
like,
this neighbor, I think, was so
disturbing.
shocked when they saw it that they thought, their initial thought was, oh my gosh, she, like, shot herself, like, took her own life, and, you know, ran out, call the cops, call Alan. And Alan is freaking out. Like, at this point, all he knows from the neighbor is that she's dead, and the neighbor thinks that she may have shot herself. So Alan is like, I don't know why she would do this. Like, what the fuck is going
she was
on?
So happy. She just had this baby. She wanted this baby so much. It doesn't
Right.
sound like she had postpartum depression or anything.
As far as we know,
Yeah.
she didn't. So an absolutely destroyed Alan calls Candy to tell her that Betty is dead and asks her to keep watching their older daughter until he could get back home, and Candy agreed and, like, broke down crying at the news about Betty. Candy was admittedly the last person to have seen Betty alive. Like, she did not deny that at all. So she quickly becomes the prime suspect. She was also aware, thanks to Alan's updates, that police had found a single shoe print in the home, and apparently she immediately destroyed the shoes that she had been wearing that day so that they couldn't be matched to her shoes. The police questioned her several times, and although her alibis seemed legit, it all crumbled when Alan admitted to having an affair with Candy, which gives investigators, like, a clear motive for this murder.
I'm surprised that early on investigators even looked to Candy just because, she was the last person to see her alive, but she could have easily just flown under the radar.
And I think she actually did. This was, like, a few weeks, I think, into the investigation.
Okay.
And they had been questioning her, and she was,
Then
like,
they start to figure it
consistent
out.
with her timeline. Like, yes, I was there. I picked up their daughter. I got her bathing suit. I asked if I could keep her for the day. Like, I left, you know, Alan called me, like, blah, blah, blah. You know, she was keeping her story. But obviously had never mentioned, like, also, I was fucking Alan for, like, the better part of a year. Oops. So this is a quote from People magazine. Candy was arrested and charged with murder, which she denied. She was later released on bail and given full support from the church. Candy hired a lawyer from the church, a man named Don Crowder, to represent her. Don later enlisted a psychiatrist and clinical hypnotist named Dr. Fred Faison to uncover Candy's memories from that night. Through several hypnosis sessions, Fred said he discovered that Candy had suffered childhood trauma, which led to her rage as an adult. He was also able to piece together what happened the night of Betty's murder, which Candy later recounted during her October 1980 trial, where she pleaded self-defense in Betty's murder.
Self-defense.
Yup.
Oh, God. Okay.
So here's where the self-defense thing comes in. And Candy is a complex character.
She's not to be trusted.
I don't fully believe this, and I don't want to, like, have everyone cry internalized misogyny, because, like, sure, that's there too, I'm sure, but, like, this just doesn't make sense to me from a logical perspective. But I also am aware that unhealed trauma can really fuck you up later in your life, and so there are parts of this that I'm like, okay, she snapped. But I just, like, cannot wrap my fucking head around all this. So, according to Candy, the morning of June 13th, she went to Betty's house to, like, pick up her daughter, get the swimsuit, etc. While they're chatting and whatever, Betty actually confronted Candy, asking if she'd had an affair with Alan.
How did she, like, have an inkling?
She's not an idiot.
I'm not sure the details on that, but I just think that
Over
the
time,
signs.
she just figured it out.
I think the signs were just there, and also, like,
Their families were spending a lot of time together. Like,
Right.
the four of them hung out a lot.
a lot.
So she
And
just
also, you know,
Picked up some vibes.
he's all satisfied or whatever when he's with Candy, and then they break up, and now he's like, do you want to do marriage excursion or whatever the fuck? I think she was just like, something's
Chucky marriage.
something's off. So Candy admitted to the affair and alleged that Betty flew off the deep end and went to the utility closet in their home, returning with an axe. Betty allegedly attempted to attack Candy and cut her foot with the axe, and Candy did have like a fucked up toe from being hit with the axe, apparently. In response, Candy wrestled the axe out of Betty's hand, flew into a rage, and struck Betty 41 times.
That's
killing her.
exhausting.
That's
You'd have
the
to
part.
take like a break.
That's the part that I really get hung up on. It's the 41 times. And if she really did experience some kind of like, and she talks about this, like some triggered psychotic break from childhood trauma, sure, maybe she sort of like blacked out and just went wild. But it just something, I feel like a piece is missing.
It wasn't until later when she was washing the blood off her hands.
That she even knew they were
dead.
She also underwent a polygraph regarding this testimony before the trial. So, like, she had been doing all these hypnosis sessions leading up to trial. And she tells this story in not only her hypnosis sessions, but then as she's piecing it together while she's quote unquote conscious. And then they have her take a polygraph talking about this story, and she passed the polygraph. But we all know
It's bullshit.
that polygraph is kind of bullshit. So the results of this polygraph, though, it's the fucking 80s. So they're like, yeah, we're going to toss that in. We're going to include that as evidence. So it was admissible. And this is a quote from Elle magazine. Quote, Candy claimed that she had been experiencing a kind of dissociative state as a result of childhood trauma. She said that Betty had shushed her, which triggered a memory of her abusive mother that sent her into a violent rage. It was the hypnotist hired by Candy's defense team who uncovered this repressed memory.
Some people really don't like to be shushed.
I mean, I don't like to be shushed either, but I don't think I would fucking kill you with 41 blows from an axe.
Wow.
But should we try it at the next live show?
I mean, we
No.
try it every time we go on tour.
This is absolutely true. I just don't have access to weapons. The prosecution tried valiantly to point out that Candy could have run for help rather than turn the axe back on Betty, and that striking Betty 41 times indicated motivation going beyond self-defense. Mm-hmm. But in the quick 8-day trial, the jury returned after only a few short hours of deliberation and said that Candy was not guilty of like first-degree murder.
What?
She was acquitted entirely.
That is mind-blowing.
She exited the courtroom to face screaming protesters who were angry with the ruling. And while she gave very few interviews after the fact, she did tell one reporter that all she wanted was to, quote, get all this behind me and be normal again.
Sure, honey.
Normal.
I'm sure you want that. Guess who doesn't get to have that?
Yeah.
Betty. And also
Betty's
Alan.
children.
And also their children.
Yeah, exactly. According to reports, Pat and Candy did stay together for a while, but they did leave Texas to start again in Georgia, and then I guess later divorced while they were in Georgia. Candy remains in Georgia, where she works as a mental health counselor.
What?
Yeah, honey.
I feel like all psychiatrists and people of that flavor
Yeah.
are mental.
Completely nuts. Yeah. Why do you think my
Why do you think
like,
they listen to this show?
literally my professional pursuits outside of this podcast were always in like the psychology and therapeutic realm?
Because you're a nutcase.
Because I'm an absolute lunatic. I'm a fucking lunatic. Anyway, that's the case of Candy Montgomery.
Yeah, it is.
Isn't that wild?
Do we know where the older daughter of Betty and Alan was when Candy was murdering Betty?
She,
At their house.
She was not. I don't think she
would
was
have been a witness.
I don't think
No,
she
at
was
Candy's
present.
house.
She was at Candy's house with like
With
their
their
older
daughter.
children.
So Candy had already picked her up earlier that day.
Candy
and
had
dropped
already had her
off.
for the day, and they were going to
Went
do this
back.
whole movie, this day movie excursion.
They were going to
But
go
then
see
they
Star
wanted-
Wars.
Yep, but then they wanted to go to the pool, but they didn't have her bathing suit.
So she went back just for the bathing
So she
suit.
ran to the house for the bathing suit, and that's
And a
when this
quickie
confrontation,
murder.
correct, confrontation happened. And it was the 80s, so if there was like one 13-year-old there, it was like, you watch all the young kids.
Right.
I'm
Oh,
going to
yeah.
go grab this bathing suit.
It was like
Don't-
that in 2003.
Try not to eat paint chips. See you later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I got to get back on that show. What platform is that show on?
There's one on Hulu and there's one on HBO. But watch the
Hulu
one first.
because the HBO one is better.
But I already started the HBO one.
Well, whatever. I haven't, so I'll watch the Hulu one
You do
first.
you.
Okay.
Okay, what's your case update?
Okay, so I realized that I forgot to add this other piece to my case, but I had added the photos, and then when I was reviewing back through my photos, I was like, oh shit, I forgot to talk about this. So remember how Fred Newlander, the rabbi, he had a hung jury in his first trial. So then a couple years later, he had his second trial. Mm-hmm. And apparently he had a new girlfriend.
There's a cat outside my window.
Hi.
Oh my God. He apparently had a new girlfriend. Continue. I'm listening.
Apparently he had a new girlfriend at the time of his second trial who was a public figure known as Miss Vicky. There's a photo on the drive.
Miss Vicky.
Miss Vicky.
Like the cookies.
Sure. I don't know.
Miss Vicky's cookies?
No. But do you see Killer Rabbi's Flame? Miss Vicky falls for wife slayer.
Oh my God. Yes, I do.
Wow,
So
that's
do
a
you-
photo.
What an incredible headline.
Do you know who Miss Vicky was?
The cookie maker.
Miss Vicky had 15 minutes of fame in the 60s when she married on live television on the Johnny Carson show.
No, it's her?
A recording artist named Tiny Tim.
I hate that.
through the tourist.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
no.
so creepy.
I had only vaguely known about Tiny Tim.
What's
I
her last name?
recognized
Like Butthole or something? Her last name is like Butt something.
it was Victoria May
Butt Geiger.
Buttinger.
Butt Geiger. Butt Gagger.
Butt Geiger. Yes, that was Vicky's first husband was Tiny Tim. And then she
What?
fell for this murderous rabbi on trial.
Justice for
What
Tiny
happened
Tim.
to Tiny Tim?
I mean, he's dead now.
He
but-
died. I'm pretty sure he died.
He turned into the weepy voice killer.
Yeah.
Oh my God. No, what? Okay, so that's why you sent me that fucking
Yes.
video. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you sent that out of nowhere. It was a 20-minute YouTube video. Amanda
I
and I were
watched
like, no.
a lot of it. I'm not going to lie. I watched a lot
It's
of
just
it.
their creepy ass wedding on the Johnny Carson show.
Okay, but their wedding aesthetic is fucking flawless. First of all, the literal tulips
Yeah.
to tiptoe through.
Tiptoeing through the tulips. Yeah.
Vicky,
and then how
no.
upset her dad was walking her down the aisle.
Oh God, and her like little sister teenage bridesmaid.
Yeah.
It was the whole thing is
It's
shocking.
pretty rough. So yeah, I don't have the full story there. We don't have time to get into it.
Drunk
Then-
dive.
Yes. Then the other thing is that Elaine, the mistress that we focused on,
Yep.
she ended up marrying one of the investigators on the case, but way later.
Was it the fake private eye
No,
that was
not
also
the
the
murderer.
murderer?
Elaine, I thought she died.
No,
No,
the wife.
wife
Oh,
died.
Carol died.
Yep. Elaine's
The
the
mistress ended up marrying one of the investigators who put away
So
Fred.
he has his wife killed to be with the mistress, and the mistress doesn't even stay with him. She marries one of the people who helped put him away.
Correct. And they moved to Florida and they were very happy.
Yes.
So that's the last little bit about my case that I forgot to mention before.
I'm obsessed with these
I'm
updates.
glad we
Thank
circled
you so
back.
much.
Yeah.
Wow. Well done.
Thanks.
What a long episode that
Yeah.
was.
2 days long.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you next week.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Wine and Crime. Our cover art is by Kala Yip, music by Phil Young and Corey Wendell, editing by Jonathan Camp. Check out our website and blog at wineandcrimepodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Wine and Crime Pod. If you have questions, answers, or recommendations to share, email us at wineandcrimepodcast@gmail.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, basically wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And if you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. It is the best way to spread the word. If you'd like to show your support, visit our Patreon page to keep this podcast and the wine flowing. Cheers.